Hey guys, tonight we are stepping away from the grand, dusty halls of history and into the warm, smoky air of a much smaller, more intimate space. We're not dealing with kings or generals, but with an unseen force that's much more likely to affect your daily life. A grumpy little spirit living in your house. We're traveling to the folklore of the Slavic lands to meet the Domovoi, the guardian of the home who is less of a gentle protector and more of a fussy, cantankerous landlord who demands respect and occasionally hides your spoons. This is a story about keeping the peace with your supernatural roommate. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It truly helps the channel find other people like you, who enjoy drifting off to the past. And for our little ritual, drop a comment letting me know your city and what time it is for you right now. It's always a quiet thrill to see where everyone is tuning in from around the globe. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into 2 nights' journey together. The world outside has vanished. Beyond the thick, dark walls of your ICBA, the vast, dark forest is swallowing the last of the evening light, and a deep, profound silence is settling over the snow-dusted landscape. Inside, however, is a small universe of warmth and flickering life. The air is heavy with the comfort, layered scents of pine resin from the walls, wood smoke from the hearth, and the faint, lingering aroma of baked bread and dried herbs hanging from the rafters. Your home is a living thing. You can hear it breathing around you. The massive logs that form the walls groan and creak as they settle in the biting cold of the night. The wind sighs in the eaves. It's a symphony of small, familiar sounds that tells you the house is strong, that it is holding back the vast, empty darkness of the world outside. You pull your woolen shawl tighter and sit on a low stool, staring into a hypnotic, pulsing heart of the fire in your great clay stove. In this small, self-contained world, you know you are never truly alone. There is another presence here. It's not something you see, not in the way you see the cat sleeping by the hearth or your husband mending a tool in the corner. It is a feeling, a constant, low-level awareness that someone else shares the space with you. It's not a threatening presence, not usually. It's more like a silent observer, a guardian, the very soul of the house itself. He is the Domovoi, the house-minus dweller. You have lived with this feeling your entire life. Every house has one. He is the keeper of the family asla, the protector of the livestock, the unseen hand that ensures the fire never goes out completely overnight. He is part of the family, in a way, the oldest, most respected, and most easily offended member of the household. Folklorists and historians have been debating his origins for centuries. Is he a remnant of ancient pagan ancestor worship, the spirit of the very first head of the family who built the house, now bound to protect his descendants? In this view, you are living with the ghost of your own great-grandfather, a comforting, familial connection to the past. Or as later Christian belief suggested, is he something else? A fallen angel who repented his rebellion against God, but was too late to be allowed back into heaven, and so was assigned to serve a human family as a form of penance, a sort of domestic demon, tamed and put to work. This would make your roommate a grumpy, reformed devil, which is a slightly less comforting thought. The truth is, you don't really know. You just know he is here. You know his habits. You know he dislikes mirrors, whistling, and leaving dirty dishes out overnight. You know he loves the warmth in the shadows, and that his favorite place in the entire house is the door, warm space behind the very stove you are staring at now. And you know, because your grandmother told you so. One of the most important and curious pieces of lore when a family moves to a new house, they must entice their Domovoi to come with them. The traditional way is to leave out an old bast shoe or a piece of bread and say, "Grandfather, Domovoi, come with us to the new home." But another, stranger custom is to let the family cat enter the new house first. Wherever the cat chooses to settle and sleep is where the Domovoi will make his new home. The cat, in its wisdom, acts as a sort of supernatural real estate agent for the house spirit. Tonight, the house feels peaceful. The fire crackles contentedly. The cat purrs. The creaks and groans of the house are rhythmic and soothing. This means the Domovoi is content. The household is in balance. You have done your chores. You have shown the proper respect. And he, in turn, is performing his duty, wrapping the house in a blanket of unseen protection. You feel a wave of drowsiness. It's time for sleep. You bank the fire, ensuring a bed of hot embers will remain until morning. You climb onto your bed, which is built atop the stove for warmth, a cozy, elevated nest. You pull the heavy fur blankets over you and lie there, listening to the gentle sounds of the sleeping house. The feeling of the Domovoi's presence is a comfort tonight, a silent guardian watching over you in the dark. You have no reason to suspect that this cozy peace is about to be shattered by a simple, careless mistake. For now, you drift off to sleep, feeling safe and watched minus over in your soul. Breathing home, you are never truly alone. And tonight, that is a comfort. The Domovoi, in his quiet, unseen way, is a guardian. You know the stories. You've heard them whispered around the fire since you were a child. A well-minus respected. Happy Domovoi will help with the chores. He might braid the manes of the horses in the stable, a sign of his favor. He might guide a wandering cow back home. At night, he might gently touch a sleeping family member, a soft, furry caress that brings good dreams. He is a silent partner in the hard work of survival. This belief in a household spirit is not unique to your culture. It's a deeply human instinct. The Romans had their lares, household gods who protected the family. The Scottish have their brownies, helpful little spirits who do chores at night in exchange for a bowl of cream. It seems that people all over the world have felt this need to personify their homes, to believe that the space they inhabit has a soul, a consciousness that can be pleased or angered. And you know, just as surely as you know he can be helpful, that he can be angered. A slighted Domovoi is a menace. He is not a malevolent demon who will cause you great harm, but he is the master of petty, infuriating annoyances. He will hide things a favorite knife, a single shoe, the spindle from your loom. He will make things curdle, spill, and break. He will whisper and knock in the night, just enough to disrupt your sleep and fray your nerves. He is the spirit of passive aggression. Historians who study folklore see the Domovoi as a fascinating projection of household anxieties. When a tool goes missing, is it easier to blame your own carelessness or to blame a grumpy, invisible little man? When the milk sours unexpectedly, is it a random act of nature or a deliberate message from your supernatural roommate? The Domovoi provides a narrative, a reason for the small, frustrating chaos of daily life. He gives you a way to understand and, more importantly, a way to potentially fix the things that go wrong. The world feels a little less random, a little more controllable. If you believe a saucer of milk can solve your problems, you also know what he looks like, or at least, what people say he looks like. No one ever gets a clear view. He is a shapeshifter. Most often, he is described as a small, old man, his body covered in thick, soft fur, with a long grey beard and wise, glowing eyes. He might sometimes take the form of the current head of the household, a strange, spectral twin seen for a moment out of the corner of your eye. Other times, he might appear as a cat, a dog, or even a snake. One of the most specific and slightly odd pieces of folklore about his appearance is the state of his hands. They are said to be soft and furry. If he touches you in the night and his hand feels warm and furry, it is a sign of good luck to come. But if his hand feels cold and bristly, it is a warning of misfortune. This belief turns a half-minus asleep, subconscious sensation into a personalized forecast from your resident spirit. Tonight, however, there are no cold hands or missing tools. The house is calm. You can feel the deep, contented peace that means the Domovoi is satisfied. The household is running as it should. The unspoken contract between you and him is being honored. You provide him with shelter, respect, and the occasional small offering. He, in turn, provides the house with his protective, stabilizing presence. You burrow deeper into your warm bed atop the stove. You are not just in a house, you are in a living entity, a partnership between the human family and the ancient spirit who dwells in the shadows. It's a delicate balance, a constant negotiation. But tonight, the balance holds. You feel secure, wrapped in the warmth of the stove and the invisible embrace of your furry, ancestral guardian. You are home, and you are not alone. And for now, that is the most comforting thought in the world. You close your eyes, and sleep comes easily, carried on the soft, smoky air. At the heart of your home, both literally and spiritually, sits the great clay stove. It is a massive, solid presence, a beast of baked earth and river stones that dominates the single large room of your EBA. It is more than just an appliance. It is the axis around which your entire life revolves. It is your furnace, your oven, your cooktop, and your bed. You bake your dark, dense rye bread within its cavernous belly. You simmer your cabbage soup on its flat, hot surface. You dry your mushrooms and herbs by hanging them from the rafters above it. At night, your family sleeps on the wide, flat ledge built on top of it, the most coveted sleeping spot in the house, where the residual heat seeps into your bones and keeps the brutal winter chill at bay. The stove is the source of all warmth, all cooked food, all comfort. It is life, and because it is the heart of the home, it is his favorite place. The Domovoi's primary residence is the dark, warm, dusty space behind or underneath the stove. This is his throne room, his sanctuary. From this vantage point, he can observe the entire household, missing nothing. To disrespect the stove is to disrespect him directly. This reverence for the stove is a deeply ingrained part of your culture. You would never spit into the fire, as that is seen as spitting in his face. You would never burn trash or sweep refuse into the hearth. You only burn clean, dry wood. The stove is fed only what is pure. After baking, you might leave a small, imperfect loaf of bread in the oven overnight as a gift for grandfather. As he is respectfully known, the area around the stove is sacred. But it is also, paradoxically, a bit grimy, and this is a key piece of folklore. The Domovoi, despite being the guardian of the home, loves a bit of clutter and dust in his specific domain. A compulsively, obsessively clean housewife who sweeps out the corners behind the stove too frequently is seen as trying to evict him. You must keep the main part of the house tidy, but his corner must be left a little wild, a little dusty. It's a strange, delicate balance maintaining a clean home without offending the spirit who loves a bit of dirt. Historians see this belief as a fascinating reflection of the practical realities of life. A house built of wood and earth can never be perfectly sterile clean. The belief that the house spirit prefers a bit of dust in the corners is a way of making peace with this fact. It turns a domestic imperfection into an act of piety. You're not a bad housekeeper. You're just respecting the Domovoi's living space. There's another, stranger piece of lore connected to the stove and the Domovoi. It involves divination. On a cold winter's night, a young woman wanting to know her future might go to the back of the stove, lift her skirts, and present her bare backside to the opening where he is presumed to live. If she feels a cold, bristly touch, it means her future husband will be poor and harsh. But if she feels a soft, warm, furry touch, it means she will marry a wealthy and kind man. It is a bizarre and incredibly intimate form of fortune minus telling, a direct consultation with the furry oracle of the hearth. Tonight, you have banked the fire properly. You have left no mess. The stove radiates a steady, life minus giving warmth. As you lie on your bed atop it, you can hear its small, sleepy sounds, the soft crackle of cooling clay, the gentle sigh of the embers. These are the sounds of a happy stove, and therefore, the happy Domovoi. You feel the deep, comforting heat soak into your mattress, a warmth that feels ancient and protective. You are sleeping on the very heart of your home, under the watchful, unseen eye of its oldest resident. The sacred stove is at peace, the house is at peace, and so are you. Your breathing deepens, and you fall into a profound, untroubled sleep, cradled by the warmth of baked earth and old magic. You wake to a familiar morning chill. The fire in the stove has, as always, dwindled to a bed of glowing embers. You slide off your high perch, your feet hitting the cold floor, and begin the daily ritual of coaxing the fire back to life. You add kindling and blow on the embers, and soon a cheerful blaze is licking at the logs. Everything feels normal. You set about preparing the morning meal, a simple porridge of boiled grains. You reach for a large wooden spoon you always use, the one your father carved for you, its handle worn smooth and dark from years of use. It's not on the hook where it always hangs. You frail, that's all. You are a creature of habit. The spoon has its place. You check the table, the nearby shelf. It's not there. You feel a small flicker of irritation. Perhaps one of the children used it and didn't put it back. You use a smaller ladle instead, making a mental note to ask about the spoon later. It's a small thing, a minor disruption. You dismiss it. But as the day goes on, the small disruptions accumulate. You go to the pantry to get a piece of dried fish, and you find the door, which you know you latched, swinging gently open. Later, as you are spinning wool, the thread snaps for no reason. A clean break. Then, you hear a soft thud from the corner of the room that when you look, nothing is out of place. Each incident on its own is nothing. A misplaced spoon, a forgotten latch, a weak thread. These are the normal, mundane frustrations of life. But together, they begin to form a pattern. It's a quiet, insistent pattern of things going slightly, maddeningly wrong. This is how it begins. He never starts with a roar. He starts with a whisper. A missing object is the classic calling card of a displeased Domovoi. It's his primary method of communication, his way of tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "We had a problem." The specific object he chooses to hide is often symbolic. Hiding a spoon is a comment on the food or the running of the kitchen. Hiding a key is a sign of deeper insecurity or a warning about who is coming and going. Hiding a piece of needlework might be a critique of your domestic diligence. Your missing spoon feels like a direct, personal complaint. This belief provides a fascinating insight into the psychology of a pre-modern home. Losing things is a universal human experience. It's frustrating and feels random. But the Domovoi folklore transforms this random frustration into a meaningful event. The spoon isn't lost. It has been taken. This implies a few things. First, it's not your fault, a comforting thought. Second, it's a message that can be interpreted. And third, and most importantly, the spoon can be retrieved if you take the correct action. The world is no longer chaotic. It is a system of rules you have simply, for a moment, forgotten. Historians who study material culture find this aspect of the law particularly interesting. In a household with very few possessions, each object was precious. A good spoon, a sharp knife, a sturdy pot, these were valuable, essential tools. The loss of one was a genuine hardship. The belief that the Domovoi was merely borrowing it, and would return it when he was appeased, was a profoundly hopeful and practical way to deal with the anxiety of such a loss. A quirky and specific ritual for retrieving a lost object is to tie a knot in a piece of cloth or a dish towel and leave it in a corner, saying something like, "Grandfather, play with this and give me back my own." It's a form of negotiation, offering the spirit a new toy in exchange for the return of your essential tool. But you are not yet at the point of tying knots in towels. You are still in the stage of denial, of growing irritation. You spend half the afternoon searching for the spoon, your frustration mounting. You snap at the children, who swear they haven't seen it. You eye the cat, wondering if it somehow knocked it into an unseen corner. You refuse to consider the real possibility. You refuse to admit that you might have done something wrong. As dusk falls, you give up the search. Your mood is dark as the evening sky. The house, which felt so cozy and safe just last night, now feels subtly hostile. The familiar creaks and groans no longer sound like breathing. They sound like quiet, judgmental muttering. The harmony is gone. A single, misplaced spoon has unraveled the peace of your home. And, as you will soon discover, this is only the beginning of his campaign of quiet discontent. You go to bed that night with a sense of unease. The missing spoon is a small, hard knot of anxiety in your stomach. You lie on your warm perch atop the stove, but the heat no longer feels comforting. It feels watchful. Sleep does not come easily. Just as you are drifting off, you'll hear a sharp tap minus step from the corner of the room. Your eyes snap open. You listen, your heart thudding. Silence. You tell yourself it was just the house settling, a log shifting. You close your eyes again. Thump. It's a heavier sound this time, from near the ceiling, as if someone dropped a heavy boot in the small attic space above. But you know no one is up there. The ladder is right here in the room with you. This is his next move. When hiding things doesn't get your attention, he resorts to noise. It's the supernatural equivalent of a roommate slamming doors. The sounds are never loud enough to be terrifying, never so dramatic that you think the house is under attack. They are small, intimate, and perfectly calibrated to fray your nerves. You might hear what sounds like soft, mournful sighing, or a sound like a cat purring, even when your own cat is curled up and fast asleep right next to you. Sometimes, it's the sound of quiet whispers, words you can't quite make out, seeming to come from the very walls around you. It's a psychological game, and he is a master of it. This aspect of the Domovoi, while is deeply connected to the acoustics of a traditional log house. An IZBA like yours is a symphony of natural sounds. Wood expands and contracts, the wind whistles through tiny, unseen cracks, and small animals like mice and squirrels make their homes in the walls and rafters. These noises are a constant, normal part of life. The folklore of the Domovoi takes these ordinary, explainable sounds and weaves them into a narrative of supernatural communication. That random creak isn't just wood settling, it's him expressing his displeasure. That scratching in the wall isn't a mouse, it's him warning you. This is a brilliant psychological mechanism. It gives a sense of agency and purpose to the ambient sounds of the home, transforming a noisy house from a source of random annoyance into a house that is actively trying to speak to you. Historians and acousticians who have studied traditional building methods point out that the massive clay stove itself acts as a strange kind of amplifier and sound minus distorter. As it cools overnight, it makes a whole range of pops, clicks, and groans. The hollow space behind it can create echoes and make sounds from other parts of the house seem like they are coming from right beside you. The belief that the Domovoi lives behind the stove is, in this light, perfectly logical. Of course the house's voice comes from its warm, beating heart. One of the more specific and spooky beliefs about his nightly noises is that if you hear the sound of weeping, it is a portent of death in the family. This turns the spirit from a mere pest into a grim oracle. But tonight, the sounds are not of weeping. They are sounds of pure, unadulterated irritation. A bump here, a scrape there, the sound of a dish rattling on its shelf, even though the house is perfectly still. You pull the fur blanket over your head, a childish but deeply instinctive gesture. You are trying to block out the sounds, to pretend you don't hear them, but you can. Your ears are now attuned to every tiny noise. The house is no longer a place of silent comfort. It is a source of constant, low minus level harassment. You know what this means. You can no longer deny. This is not about a misplaced spoon. You have, somehow, deeply offended the master of the house. The little flicker of irritation you felt yesterday has now blossomed into a full minus blown. That minus wrenching anxiety. You have broken the unspoken rules. You have upset the delicate balance. And you know, with a certainty that makes your blood run cold, that, if you don't figure out what you did wrong and make amends soon, these quiet knocks in the night are going to get much, much worse. The sleepless night leaves you tired and irritable. The strange noises finally ceased in the deep, silent hour before dawn, but you feel as though you haven't slept at all. You rise, your body aching with fatigue, and your first thought is of milk. A cup of fresh, warm milk from the cow will soothe your frayed nerves. You trudge out to the small shed that serves as a barn. The morning air, so cold it stings your cheeks. The cow greets you with a low, gentle moo. You sit on your small stool, press your forehead against the animal's warm, comforting flank, and begin to milk. The familiar, rhythmic squirt of milk into the wooden pail is a soothing sound. It's a piece of normality in a world that has begun to feel off minus kilter. You carry the pail, heavy with frothy, warm milk, back to the house. You pour a generous amount into a clay pot and set it on the edge of the stove to keep warm. Then you turn to your other chores, your mind still troubled by the events of the night. About an hour later, you go to get your cup of milk. You dip a ladle into the pot and lift it to your lips, but the moment it touches your tongue, you recoil. The milk is sour, not just a little off, but sharply, aggressively sour, with the unmistakable curdled texture of milk that has gone completely bad. You stare into the pot in disbelief. This is impossible. The milk was fresh from the cow not an hour ago. The pot was clean. The cow is healthy. There is no logical, rational reason for this to happen. And then you know, this is his next escalation. When the subtle hints of missing objects and the annoying persistence of nightly noises fail to get your attention, the Domovoi targets the pantry. He is the guardian of the household's prosperity, and he can just as easily become the spoiler of it. Souring the milk is a classic move. It is a direct attack on the fruits of your labor, a clear and undeniable demonstration of his power. He can do more. He can make the bread fail to rise, turning your precious flour into a hard, inedible brick. He can cause the pot of stew to boil over and extinguish the fire. He can make the preserves you so carefully put up for the winter grow strained. Blue mold. His displeasure has now moved from a simple annoyance to a genuine threat to your family's well-minus being. This aspect of the Domovoi folklore serves as a pre-minus scientific explanation for a host of domestic disasters. Food spoilage, in a time before refrigeration and pasteurization, was a constant and mysterious threat. Why did one batch of cheese turn out perfectly while the next became a moldy mess? Why did the beer ferment beautifully one week and turn to vinegar the next? These were terrifyingly random events that could have serious consequences. The belief that an offended house spirit was responsible gave an aim and a face to this invisible enemy. It wasn't random microbial action. It was the Domovoi. And if the Domovoi was the cause, then there was also a solution. You could appease him. This belief system turned the terrifyingly unpredictable science of food preservation into a matter of domestic diplomacy. A particularly specific and interesting bit of lore is that a Domovoi could show his displeasure by tangling a woman's needlework or spinning. A ball of yarn found in an impossible knot was a sure sign he was angry. This is often interpreted by folklorists as a symbolic commentary on the woman's role as the weaver of the family's domestic harmony. If she has allowed the social fabric of the home to become tangled through strife and neglect, he will reflect that by tangling the physical fabric of her work, you stand there, staring at the pot of ruined milk, and a wave of cold dread washes over you. This is serious. The spoon was an inconvenience. The noises were unnerving. This is a direct threat to your food supply. This is an attack on your competence as the mistress of the house. You feel a surge of anger, a hot flash of frustration at this unseen, petty tyrant who is ruining your day. You want to scream, to curse him, but you don't. You can't. You know, with a certainty passed down from your mother and her mother before her, that anger is the worst possible response. Cursing the Domovoi is like throwing oil on a fire. It will only make him worse. You take a deep breath, your anger giving way to a grim, weary resignation. You have to fix this. You can no longer ignore the signs. The time for denial is over. You must figure out what you have done to offend the grumpy master of your home, and you must make it right before he decides to do something worse than just souring the milk. You dump the sour milk outside for the pigs. Your heart heavy. The waste of it feels like a physical blow. You walk back into the IZBA, and the atmosphere feels different. It's not just your imagination now. There is a palpable tension in the air, a feeling of being watched by a hostile presence. You walk towards the stove, the heart of the home, his throne room. As you get closer, you feel it, a distinct pocket of cold air. It's a small, localized chill, a column of cold that makes the hairs on your arms stand up. The area around the stove should be the warmest place in the house, but this one spot is inexplicably, unnaturally frigid. You stop. This is the final, undeniable proof. A cold spot by the hearth is the ultimate sign of a Domovoi's fury. It's a supernatural paradox, a sign that the natural order of the home has been completely upended. He has, in his anger, withdrawn his warmth, his protective energy, from his very own sanctuary. The heart of the home has gone cold. This is the moment of acceptance. You can no longer blame carelessness, or mice, or bad luck. You have to face the truth. You have deeply, profoundly offended the spirit of your house, and he is now making your life miserable. Your silent landlord is furious, and if you don't fix this, things could get much worse than soured milk. The stories about a truly enraged Domovoi are terrifying. He might leave his hiding place at night and lie on the chest of a sleeping person, a heavy, suffocating weight that causes nightmares and leaves them gasping for breath. This phenomenon, known in many cultures and often explained today as sleep paralysis, was a sign of the Domovoi's ultimate displeasure. He might let disease into the house, or cause accidents. At the very worst, in the most extreme cases, a Domovoi might abandon a house altogether, and a house without its Domovoi is a cursed, unlucky place, doomed to fall into ruin. So you stand there, in the pocket of cold air, and you begin the process of fixing your mistake. The first step is a frontal, internal inventory. What did you do? The Domovoi's rules are many, and some are obscure. You tick them off in your head, your mind racing. Did you swear or use foul language in the house? He detests it. Did you whistle indoors? A terrible offense, said to blow your prosperity away. Did you leave a knife blade minus up on the table overnight? A sign of aggression that deeply offends him. Did you sweep the floor after sunset? This is a major taboo, as you might accidentally sweep the family's look out the door. Did you point at him, even jokingly, or try too hard to see him? He values his privacy above all else. Did you neglect to leave him a small portion of a special meal? He expects to be included in all family feasts. This frantic searching for the source of the transgression is a key part of the folklore. It forces a kind of moral and domestic self-examination. In trying to figure out how you offended the Domovoi, you are forced to review your own behavior. Have you been a good housekeeper? Have you been respectful? Have you maintained harmony within the family? The Domovoi, in this sense, acts as the family's conscience, a supernatural enforcer of the domestic moral code. One of the more peculiar taboos involves goats. For some reason, many Domovoi are said to despise goats. Keeping a goat in the yard, or even bringing goat's milk into the house, could be enough to incur his wrath. This is one of those wonderfully specific and seemingly random pieces of folklore that historians love, and its origins are endlessly debated. Does it relate to the goat's association with the devil in Christian iconography, or is it something older, a forgotten pagan belief? You run through the list in your mind. The sweeping, the whistling, the noise. No, you've been careful. You haven't brought any goats home. What could it have been? Then, a memory surfaces, small and seemingly insignificant. 2 nights ago, your husband came home late from the village, having had a bit too much honey made at a neighbor's celebration. He stumbled in, singing loudly and off minor key, and kicked over a bucket of water. You were tired and cross, and you snapped at him, your voice sharp and angry. The house was filled, for a moment, with discord, with loud, unhappy noises. That must be it. The Domovoi, who craves peace and harmony above all else, was deeply offended by the shouting and the strife. He doesn't take sides in a marital spat. He blames the whole household for disrupting his peace. The missing spoon, the noises, the soured milk, it was all a direct consequence of that one moment of domestic unhappiness. The relief of finally understanding is immense. The problem now has a name, but the relief is immediately replaced by a new anxiety. You know the cause. Now you must perform the cure. You need to make a formal apology, and your first offering must be a humble one. A simple gesture of respect to show that you have gotten the message. You know what you have to do. The first apology cannot be elaborate. It must be simple, humble, and come from the heart of the home's pantry. It is a gesture of peace, a way of saying, I understand, I was wrong, let us begin again. You go to the large wooden chest where you keep your flour. You take out a handful of the finest, softest wheat flour, not the coarse rye you use for everyday bread, but the special flour you save for feast days. You find the small wooden board you use for kneading and you make a small, perfect loaf of bread. It's no bigger than your fist. You don't add salt, as salt is sometimes seen as an insult, a symbol of tears or impurity. Just flour and clean water. While the tiny loaf bakes in the hot embers of the stove, you go to the milk pail. This time, you take a small, clean saucer, one of your few precious pieces of pottery, and you pour a little of the fresh milk into it. You are creating a miniature, perfect meal, the two most fundamental foods of your household, bread and milk. This offering of bread and milk is the most universal and basic way to appease a Domovoi. It is a symbolic offering of the house's sustenance, a sharing of the family's own food. It is a sign of respect and inclusion. You are acknowledging that he is a member of the family, and you are offering him his portion first. When the tiny loaf is baked, its crust a beautiful golden brown. You let it cool for a moment. Then you place it on the saucer next to the pool of white milk. The offering is ready. Now comes the most important part, where to leave it. You cannot just place it on the table. The offering must be made in his space. You get down on your hands and knees, ignoring the dirt and the dust, and you reach into the dark, warm space behind the stove. It is the place you normally avoid, his private chamber. You carefully place the saucer on the earthen floor, as far back into the shadows as you can reach. As you do so, you must speak the proper words. You cannot be silent. You must address him directly and respectfully. Grandfather, master of the house, you whisper to the unseen presence in the darkness. Forgive my family for our foolishness. Forgive the loud noises and the angry words. Please, accept our humble gift. Protect our home. Watch over our nest, and bring peace back to our family. Your voice is a low, ever murmur. You are speaking to the very soul of your house. There is no reply. Of course, no sound from the shadows, but you feel a subtle shift in the atmosphere. The intense, hostile pressure seems to lessen slightly. The cold spot you felt earlier seems to have dissipated. This act of speaking to the Domovoi is crucial. Folklorists see it as a form of therapy for the household. By articulating the problem, loud noises and angry words and the desired solution bring peace back. You are actively working to resolve the domestic tension that caused the problem in the first place. You are, in essence, apologizing not just to a spirit, but to the very idea of a harmonious home. A peculiar variation on this ritual involves the head of the household, the man of the house, going outside at midnight and walking around the house, bowing to each corner and asking the Domovoi for his blessing and protection. It's a formal, ceremonial reaffirmation of the spirit's dominion over the property. You finish your whispered apology and slowly back away, leaving the offering in the darkness. Now, you must wait. You must leave the offering overnight. The rule is that you must never watch him eat. To try and spy on him would be the gravest insult, and doing all your good work. He takes his portion spiritually. The physical food may or may not be touched. You go about the rest of your day with a sense of cautious optimism. You feel as though you have done the right thing. The house feels calmer, the air less charged with unspoken resentment. You tell your husband what you have done, and he nods, a look of relief on his face. He understands the gravity of the situation and is grateful you have taken the first step. That night, you go to bed with a feeling of nervous hope. You have made your apology. You have offered the best of your pantry. Now it is up to him to accept it. You lie awake for a little while, listening, but tonight, there are no strange knocks, no whispers in the dark. There is only the quiet, rhythmic breathing of the sleeping house. It is a good sign, but you know that one small offering may not be enough to fully soothe his wounded pride. You wake the next morning with a knot of anticipation in your stomach. The house was quiet all night, a blessed relief after the strange disturbances of the previous evenings. Your first act, even before rekindling the fire, is to check on your offering. You kneel down and peer into the dusty space behind the stove. The saucer is still there, but it is empty. The small loaf of bread is gone. The milk has vanished, leaving only a faint white residue on the pottery. A wave of relief washes over you. He has accepted it. The physical disappearance of the food is the clearest sign you could hope for. While it's entirely possible, even likely, that the house cat or a particularly bold mouse was the true recipient of the meal, in the language of this ritual, the empty saucer means your apology has been heard and acknowledged. You feel a lightness you haven't felt in days. The oppressive, watchful atmosphere in the house is lifted, replaced by a feeling of neutral calm. It's not the warm, cozy peace you felt before, but the tense, hostile silence is gone. You have achieved a truce, but you know it is only a truce, a first step. One humble offering is not enough to erase a serious offense. His anger has subsided, but his trust has not yet been fully restored. He is watching you, waiting to see if your respectful behavior will continue. The house may be quiet, but you sense that the smallest misstep could bring back the troubles. This idea of a great multi-minus step reconciliation is a common feature in folklore about appeasing spirits. It's not a simple on-off switch. It's a process, a negotiation. You have to prove your sincerity over time. This reflects a deep human understanding of how real minus-life relationships work. Forgiveness, especially after a deep hurt, is rarely instantaneous. It requires consistent, repeated effort. You spend the day in a state of heightened mindfulness. You are careful with every word, every action. You don't shout at the children. You place every tool back in its proper place. You sweep the floor, but you are careful not to get too close to his corner behind the stove. You are on your best behavior, acutely aware that you are being observed by your unseen landlord. Despite the empty saucer, you notice that his full favor has not yet returned. The day is still filled with small, lingering annoyances. A pot on the fire seems to take forever to boil. The cow gives slightly less milk than usual. These are not the aggressive acts of an angry spirit, but the subtle, grudging signs of one who is still holding a bit of a grudge. This is a classic Domovoi move. He will accept your apology but make you work for his full blessing. He is testing you. Are you truly sorry, or are you just trying to get your spoon back? One of the more interesting historical debates around these practices is their relationship with the official Orthodox Church. The Church officially condemned these beliefs as pagan superstition, the worship of demons. Priests would preach against leaving offerings for the Domovoi, and yet the practices persisted, often right alongside Christian rituals. A family might go to church on Sunday, and then come home and leave an offering for their house spirit. This created a fascinating blend of beliefs, a system folklore sets called Evio ever i.e. or dual faith. People saw no contradiction in honoring both God and the Domovoi. God was for the salvation of your soul, a grand, cosmic concern. The Domovoi was for the practical, day-to-day running of your household. You needed both. It was a pragmatic approach to covering all your spiritual bases. As evening falls, you know that you need to do more. The simple offering of bread and milk was the necessary first step, the equivalent of a formal apology. But now you need to rebuild the relationship. You need to do something more personal, something that shows you truly understand and respect him. Your mind turns to the stories your grandmother used to tell, the deeper, more specific lore for dealing with a particularly stubborn or offended house spirit. It's time to move beyond a simple meal and offer him something more. The memory of your grandmother's voice comes to you as you sit by the dwindling fire that evening. She was a woman steeped in the old ways, her mind a library of folk wisdom, remedies, and the complex rules for navigating the unseen world. You can almost hear her now, her voice raspy and sure, explaining what to do when grandfather is feeling particularly sulky. Food fills his belly, she used to say. That respect warms his heart. You realize that your first offering, the bread and milk, was a transaction. It was an apology, a payment for the disruption you caused, but it was not a conversation. To truly mend the relationship, you need to speak to him again, but this time with more formality, more directness. You need to reaffirm his position as the master of the house. This leads you to a ritual that feels both deeply profound and incredibly awkward. You must have a formal chat with your stove. You wait until your husband and the children are sound asleep. The house is submerged in the deep silence of midnight. You light a single, fresh candle, not a cheap, sputtering tallow one, but a clean minus burning beeswax candle you save for special occasions. The pure, sweet scent of the wax feels appropriate for this solemn task. Holding the candle, you walk to the front of the massive clay stove. You get down on your knees, not in the dusty space behind it, that right before the hearth, its symbolic front door. You are presenting yourself to him formally. You bow your head, the candlelight casting a warm glow on your face and a long, dancing shadow on the wall behind you. You must address him with his proper, most respectful titles. Grandfather, little father, master of my home. You begin, your voice a low, earnest whisper. The formality feels strange on your tongue, but you know it is necessary. We are grateful for your protection. We honor you as the keeper of this family, the guardian of this hearth. You pause, taking a breath. I know we have disturbed your peace. The home was filled with anger, and for this, I am truly sorry. I ask for your wisdom. Guide me in being a better keeper of this home. Help me maintain the peace that you cherish. This act of speaking aloud, of verbalizing respect and asking for guidance, is a powerful psychological tool. You are not just talking to a spirit. You are externalizing your own anxieties and goals. You are creating a formal pact with yourself and with the idea of your home to be a better, more peaceful inhabitant. It is a form of guided meditation, a way of setting your own intentions in the presence of a silent, spiritual witness. Folklorists find these direct addresses fascinating. The language used is often familial and deeply respectful. Grandfather, little father, master. This reinforces the idea of the Domovoi not as a monster or a demon, but as the patriarch of the extended family, which includes both the living and the ancestral spirits. You are not praying to a god. You are having a respectful conversation with an elder. A specific and quite charming piece of lore is that you can ask the Domovoi for help with a specific task. For example, if you are having trouble churning butter, you can whisper into the churn, "Grandfather, help me with this work, and I will give you the sweetest part." This transforms a frustrating chore into an act of collaboration with your unseen roommate. As you finish your speech, you remain kneeling for a moment, listening. You don't expect an answer, of course, but you listen to the house. The wind sighs gently outside. A log inside the cooling stove shifts with a soft thud. The cat, sleeping nearby, stretches and gives a soft, contented sigh. The house feels calm. It feels like it is listening. You feel a sense of peace settle over you. The awkwardness of talking to your stove has been replaced by a feeling of having done something right, something important. You have moved beyond a simple apology and have actively established the lines of respect. You have reaffirmed his status and your role. You rise slowly to your feet, blow out the precious beeswax candle, and make your way to bed. You feel as though a great weight has been lifted. The truth feels more solid now, moving closer to a genuine peace. You have done all you can with words and offerings. Now, it is up to him to give you a sign that your efforts have been truly and completely accepted. You close your eyes, and for the first time in many nights, you sleep the deep, untroubled sleep of someone who knows they have finally made things right. A few more days pass in this new state of cautious harmony. The house remains quiet at night. No more objects go missing. The milk stays fresh. You continue your routine of good behavior, moving quietly and respectfully through your home, always mindful of the unseen presence in the corner. You have done your part. Now, you are waiting for a sign from him, a gesture that shows the peace is real. One evening, you are sitting by the fire, mending one of your husband's shirts. The rest of the family is asleep. The only light comes from the dancing flames and a single candle. The house is wrapped in a comfortable, familiar silence. Suddenly, the cat, which had been dozing by the hearth, lifts its head, its ears prick up, and it stares intently at a dark, shadowy corner of the room, near the rafters. Its body goes tense, but it doesn't hiss or growl. It just watches, with an unnerving, unblinking focus that only cats possess. You follow its gaze. The corner is deep in shadow, a place where the firelight barely reaches. You squint, trying to see what has captured the cat's attention. For a moment, there is nothing but the familiar texture of the rough log walls and the dusty spit appears in the high corners. And then you see it. It's not a clear image. It's a trick of the light, a flicker of movement in the deepest part of the shadow. It's a momentary impression, something your mind can barely process before it's gone. What you see is a patch of darkness that seems darker than the rest, and in that patch of darkness, you see a small, hunched form, no bigger than a cat, covered in what looks like shaggy, dark fur. You see the glint of two small, bright eyes, like tiny embers reflecting the firelight. You blink, and it's gone. The corner is just a corner again. The shadow is just a shadow. The cat relaxes, lets out a little heart, and goes back to washing its paw, as if nothing has happened. Your heart is hammering in your chest, but it is not a feeling of fear. It is a feeling of pure, unadulterated up. You know what you just saw, or what you think you saw. You have been granted a glimpse of the master of the house. This is an incredibly rare and significant event. The Domovoi almost never shows himself to the inhabitants of his house. To be allowed to see him, even for a fleeting, uncertain moment, is a sign of great favor. It is his way of acknowledging you, of making his presence known in a direct, physical way. It's a confirmation that the peace between you is restored. The appearance of the Domovoi is a subject of much debate among folklorists. Are these sightings hallucinations brought on by fatigue and the power of suggestion in a dimly lit, fire-lit room? Are they simple misinterpretations of shadows and household pets? Almost certainly. But, in the context of the belief system, they are powerful, validating experiences. The specific form he takes is also significant. The fact that you saw him as a small, furry creature, rather than in the form of your husband or as a snake, is generally a good sign. The small, hairy grandfather form is his most neutral and benevolent aspect. To see him in the form of a snake coiled by the hearth, while a good omen for the household's wealth, is also considered more dangerous and potent. One of the more interesting variations in his appearance is his clothing or lack thereof. An old belief states that a wealthy family Domovoi is shaggy and well furred, while a poor family is naked and bald, a direct reflection of the household's fortunes. Some stories even tell of families leaving out tiny items of clothing, a little hat or a small coat as an offering to help their Domovoi cover himself, in the hope that this will, in turn, improve their own prosperity. You sit there, your mending forgotten in your lap, the needle still poised in your hand. You are replaying the image in your mind, the hunched shape, the glint of the eyes. Was it real? Did you imagine it? It doesn't matter. In the grammar of your world, you have received your sign. The conversation is complete. He has heard your apology, accepted your offerings, and now he has shown himself to you as a final gesture of reconciliation. You don't speak of it to anyone. This is a secret between you and him. To boast about it would be to cheapen the experience, to break the newly forged trust. You simply hold the memory in your heart, a small, warm coal of wonder. The grumpy landlord has been appeased. The guardian has returned to his post. The house is whole again. The days that follow the sighting are peaceful. A new kind of harmony settles over your home, deeper and more resilient than before. You have weathered a storm together, you and your unseen roommate, and you have come out the other side with a new understanding. You are more careful now, more mindful, and the house seems to reward you for it. The bread rises perfectly. The fire catches easily each morning. The home feels happy. Then, one afternoon, you get a definitive, starting confirmation of his protective power, even in the midst of his anger. You are outside, chopping vegetables for the evening stew. Your youngest child, a small boy, just old enough to be unsteady on his feet, is playing nearby, chasing a chicken around the yard. You are keeping half an eye on him. As always, the well, a constant source of both life and danger, is covered with a heavy wooden lid. You checked it yourself this morning. It is secure. You turn your back for just a moment to throw the vegetable scraps to the pigs. In that single, brief instant, you hear a sound that makes your blood run cold. It's the scrape of heavy wood on stone, followed by a child's surprised gasp. You whip around. The heavy lid of the well is askew, leaving a dark, gaping hole. Your son is standing right at the edge, his little hands outstretched, peering down into the darkness, mesmerized. He teeters, his balance shifting. Time seems to slow down. You are too far away. You scream his name, a panicked cry, and you start to run, but you know you will be too late. He leans forward another inch, his fate a certainty. And then, something impossible happens. It is as if a sudden, invisible gust of wind pushes him, not forward into the well, but backward. He stumbles, landing with a soft thump on his backside in the dirt, a safe distance from the edge. He looks surprised, more startled than hurt, and he begins to cry, not from pain, but from the shock of his sudden fall. You scoop him up, your heart hammering against your ribs, your legs weak with a mixture of terror and relief. You hold him tight, murmuring reassurances, while your mind struggles to process what you just saw. There was no wind, nothing touched. He was pushed back from the brink of disaster by an unseen force. It was him, the Domovoi. This is the other side of his nature. He can be a petty, infuriating pest when offended, but his primary role is that of a guardian. He protects the family, especially the children and the animals, from harm. The stories are full of such incidents: a child being prevented from touching a hot stove, a baby being nudged away from a sharp tool, a horse being stopped from stepping into a hole. This belief serves a crucial psychological function. In a world full of daily, unavoidable dangers, open fires, sharp tools, deep wells, the constant anxiety of protecting small children is immense. The belief that a guardian spirit is also watching over them, providing a last line of defense when a parent's attention falters for a split second, is a profound comfort. It alleviates a small portion of the crushing burden of vigilance. Historians who study concepts of childhood and family life see these stories as a vital part of the cultural toolkit for dealing with the high rates of child mortality and accident. It is a way of making sense of both tragedy and near-minus tragedy. If a child is saved, the Domovoi was watchful. If a child is not, perhaps the Domovoi was angry. Or perhaps his power was not enough to overcome a greater fate. It provides a framework, a narrative, for the unbearable randomness of life and death. A specific and interesting piece of lore is that the Domovoi is particularly fond of children who have not yet started to speak, and he loves to play with the hair. A baby with a perpetually tangled patch of hair was said to be a favorite of the house spirit. You carry your crying son back into the house, your mind reeling, and now you understand something new. His anger, his petty punishments, the missing spoon, the soured milk, they were all happening at the same time that he was still performing his essential duty as a protector. He was furious with you, but he never abandoned his post. He was a grumpy, resentful guardian, but a guardian nonetheless. His contract with the house, with the family life, was deeper than his temporary anger with its current inhabitants. That evening, you leave him the finest offering yet, a piece of honey cake and a cup of your husband's best mead. You don't say anything. You don't need to. It is a simple, profound gesture of gratitude, an acknowledgement of the debt you owe him, a debt that is far greater than a misplaced spoon. Your near-minus disaster at the well has taught you a profound lesson. The Domovoi is not just a force to be appeased. He is a power to be respected, a guardian whose favor is essential to the well-minus being of your home. You feel a new depth of gratitude, and with it comes a desire to understand his rules more completely. You don't want to make another mistake. You think back again to your grandmother's teachings, trying to recall the finer points of Domovoi etiquette. You remember the basics: keep the house peaceful, share your food, don't whistle. But there were other, more specific rules, things that could cause deep and lasting offense. And then you remember the story she told you about your aunt, who, after a series of misfortunes in her new home, made a terrible, unforgivable error. She had offered the Domovoi a piece of salted bread. This is one of the most critical and fascinating pieces of Domovoi lore. Salt, in your culture, is a complex and powerful substance. It is a symbol of wealth and hospitality. When you greet an honored guest, you offer them bread and salt. It is a sign of welcome and respect. But not for him. For the Domovoi, an offering of salt is a grave insult. Why? The reasons are ancient and debated by folklorists to this day. One theory is that the Domovoi, as an ancient, pre-Christian spirit, is a creature of the earth, of the unclean spirit world. Salt, in many traditions, is a purifying agent, a substance used in religious rituals to ward off evil. To offer him salties, therefore, to treat him like a demon to be cleansed or driven away. You are not welcoming him, you are trying to exorcise him. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of his nature, an act of profound disrespect. Another theory connects it to a different symbolic meaning of salt: tears and sorrow. To give him salt is to wish sorrow upon the house, to poison the offering with bad intentions. Whatever the origin, the rule is absolute. Bread and milk, yes. Honey cake, yes. A bit of porridge, a piece of meat, all acceptable, but never salt. Your grandmother's story about your aunt was a cautionary tale. After the insulting offering, the Domovoi's behavior escalated from simple annoyances to outright malevolence. The livestock fell sick. A fire broke out in the thatch roof. The family was plagued by misfortune until they finally consulted a knowing woman, a village healer who understood the old ways. She instructed them to perform a complex series of apologies and to leave a lavish, unslatted feast for the spirit every night for a week to earn back his trust. This highlights the high stakes of your relationship with the house spirit. A simple mistake, a misunderstanding of the rules, could have devastating consequences. Living with the Domovoi is like living with a powerful, foreign dignitary. You must learn and respect his customs, or risk causing a major diplomatic incident. This concept of forbidden offerings is common in folklore around the world. The fine Celtic traditions are said to despise iron. The Jinn of Middle Eastern lore have their own complex rules. These taboos serve to make the spirit world feel more real, more complex. It's not just about being good or bad. It's about knowing the specific, and sometimes seemingly arbitrary, rules of engagement. It makes the folklore feel less like a simple morality tale and more like a practical guide to supernatural anthropology. You shudder, thinking of how easily you could have made such a mistake. What if you had left him a piece of your family's salted pork from the supper table? You would have been acting out of generosity, sharing the best of what you had, but he would have interpreted it as a declaration of war. This new knowledge deepens your understanding. Your relationship with him is not just about keeping the peace. It's about active, ongoing cultural education. You must remember the old ways. You must pay attention to the details. The near-minus tragedy of the well, followed by this memory of the salt taboo, solidifies your resolve. You have moved past fear and into a state of profound, active respect. You are not just trying to avoid his anger anymore. You are now trying to earn his genuine favor. You want to make him not just a placated spirit, but a happy one. And that, you realize, will require more than just food and whispered apologies. It will require a gift, a real treasure. You have apologized. You have shown gratitude. The house is at peace, but you feel a need to do one more thing, to seal the new pact between you and the guardian of your home. An offering of food is temporary. It is eaten and gone. You want to give him something lasting, a treasure, a permanent sign of your respect and affection. But what do you give a spirit who lives in the dust behind your stove? You think about what you know of his character. He is old, a grandfather, He is the protector of the household's prosperity. And, according to the old stories, he has a secret weakness. He loves small, shiny, colorful things. This is a wonderfully human and endearing aspect of his lore. For all his ancient power and grumpy dignity, he is said to have a magpie minus-like attraction to bright, useless treasures. A single, shiny coin, a string of colorful glass beads, a pretty, smooth river stone, a bright red ribbon. These are the things that are said to truly make a Domovoi happy. This belief is a fascinating window into the aesthetics and values of a peasant culture, in a world where most objects were purely functional: a brown pot, a grey wool shawl, a plain wooden spoon, something that was purely decorative, something that was colorful and shiny for no practical reason, was a rare and precious thing. It was a luxury. By giving such a precious, useless item to the Domovoi, you are offering him the highest form of luxury your household possesses. You are giving him beauty. Folklorists suggest this also connects to ancient beliefs about spirits and magical power. Shiny objects were often seen as having a pure trope, as qualities the ability to ward off evil. A glint of light from a coin or a piece of glass could dazzle and confuse malevolent forces. By giving the Domovoi these treasures, you are, in essence, arming him, giving him better tools to protect your home from other, less friendly spirits. So you decide, you will give him a treasure. You go to the small wooden chest where you keep your few personal belongings. You don't have many. There is a silver cross you wear around your neck, a locket with a strand of your mother's hair. These are too personal, too human. But then you see it, at the bottom of the chest. It is a small string of blue glass beads. They were part of a necklace your father brought you from a trading fair when you were a girl. The string broke long ago, but you kept the beads. Their color is deep and brilliant as a summer sky. They serve no purpose. They are just beautiful. It is the perfect gift. Now, where to put it? The space behind the stove, his throne room, is for food offerings. A treasure, a permanent gift, requires a different kind of place. The gift should be placed in a clean, quiet, out minus the way spot where it will not be disturbed. The attic, a place of storage and memory, is the traditional choice. So you wait until the afternoon. When the light is good, you take the ladder and climb up into the small, triangular space under the roof. The air here is still and smells of dry wood and old straw. Beams of sunlight cut through the dusty air, illuminating floating motes like a galaxy of tiny stars. You find a clean, empty corner on a high raft where no one will ever bother it. You carefully lay the string of blue beads on the rough wood. The blue seems to glow in the dusty light, a tiny patch of impossible color in the brown and gray world of the attic. For you, grandfather, you whisper into the still air, a gift for the master of the house. May it please you. You don't wait for a sign. You don't expect one. This is a gift given freely, with no expectation of immediate reward. You climb back down the ladder, a sense of rightness settling over you. You have paid your respects. You have shown your gratitude. And now you have given a gift of pure beauty. You have done everything in your power to restore and deepen the bond with your household's guardian. You have made your house not just a place of truce, but a place he might once again be happy to call home. A sense of profound peace settles over your home in the days following your gift of the blue beads. The house feels lighter, the air cleaner. The familiar creaks and groans of the logs sound less like complaints and more like contented sighs. You have a deep, quiet certainty that you have finally, truly made things right. One morning, you are in the kitchen, preparing to make porridge for the family as breakfast. You reach for the small ladle you have been using for weeks, ever since your favorite spoon vanished. But as your hand closes around the ladle, your eye catches something on the table. Lying there, right in the center of the rough hewn wooden surface, is your spoon. It is the large wooden spoon your father carved, the one that started this whole ordeal. It is clean, its handle gleaming softly in the morning light. It was there a moment ago. You are sure of it. You were just at the table, wiping it down. It has simply appeared. You pick it up. The familiar weight of it in your hand is incredibly reassuring. You run your thumb over the smooth, worn handle. It feels like welcoming an old friend home. This is it. This is the final, definitive sign. The return of a hidden object, especially the one that was first taken, is the Domovoi's ultimate gesture of reconciliation. It is his way of saying, the conflict is over, our pact is renewed, all is forgiven. He is not just returning a spoon, he is returning your peace of mind. He is restoring the natural order of your household. The circle is now complete. The disruption that began with the spoon's disappearance has now been formally ended by its return. This act of returning a lost object is a crucial part of the folklore. It provides a satisfying narrative closure to the conflict. Without it, you would always be left wondering if he was truly appeased. The reappearance of Spoon is a tangible, physical piece of evidence that your apologies, your offerings, and your gifts have been successful. Folklorists see this as a brilliant storytelling device. It creates a clear cause minus and minus effect loop. The transgression causes the object to disappear. The repentance and reconciliation cause the object to reappear. It's a simple, elegant narrative that makes the chaotic, often frustrating experience of losing and finding things feel structured and meaningful. High funny and very human detail in some versions of the lore is where the object reappears. It's often not just in a random place, but in a location that is so obvious you can't believe you missed it. Right on the mantelpiece, in the middle of the floor, on top of a chest you know you've opened a dozen times. This adds a final, teasing, almost playful element to his character. It's as if H.E.S. saying, "See, I had it the whole time. You just weren't worthy of seeing it." You stand there in your kitchen, holding the spoon, and you feel a smile spread across your face, the first genuine, uncomplicated smile you've had in a very long time. You feel no anger at his petty theft, only a deep, abiding sense of relief and a strange sort of affection for this grumpy, furry, invisible tyrant who rules your home. You hang the spoon back on its proper hook, a small, simple act that feels laden with significance. It is a restoration of order. From now on, you will be more careful. You will remember the rules. You will strive to keep your home a place of peace, not just for your family, but for him as well. The great negotiation is over. The new, more respectful chapter of your cohabitation is about to begin. The return of the spoon marks the beginning of a new era in your home. It's an era defined not by fear, but by a quiet, diligent respect. You now understand the rules of your cohabitation not as a list of arbitrary taboos, but as a practical guide to a harmonious life. Your daily routine is now subtly infused with small rituals of consideration for your unseen roommate. When you sweep the floor, you are careful to leave the dusty corner behind the stove untouched. It is his space, and you respect its borders. When you bake bread, you always break off a small, warm piece from the first loaf and tuck it away in his corner. When you have a particularly good batch of cheese or a special treat like honey, you share a small portion. These are not offerings of apology anymore. They are simple, daily gestures of inclusion, like setting a place at the table for a respected elder. You teach the new rules to your children. Hush now. You'll say gently when they get too loud and boisterous indoors. You'll disturb grandfather. You are passing the law on, ensuring that the next generation will know how to keep the peace. You are teaching them not just to fear the spirit, but to live with him respectfully. This process of integrating Domovoi, Y-related chores into the daily routine is central to the belief system. It's not about grand, occasional ceremonies. It's about constant, low-level mindfulness. It's about cultivating an attitude of respect that permeates every aspect of domestic life. Historians of daily life see this as a form of domestic piety. It's a way of making every mundane task, from cooking to cleaning, feel sacred and significant. You are not just keeping house. You are maintaining a spiritual ecosystem. This imbues the often repetitive and grueling work of running a household with a sense of higher purpose. One of the most interesting and specific new rules you might adopt involves the family cat. The cat is considered the Domovoi's favorite animal. his chosen vessel and closest companion. To be cruel to the cat is a grave insult to the Domovoi himself. Therefore, the cat is now treated with an almost royal level of respect. It gets the first taste of milk. It has the best, warmest spot by the fire. You find yourself looking at the lazy, purring creature with new eyes, wondering what secrets it shares with the master of the house. The belief that the color of the cat should match the hair color of the head of the household to ensure maximum harmony is a wonderfully quirky detail that underscores this deep connection. You also learn to listen to him differently. The creaks and groans of the house are no longer just random noises. You learn to interpret them. A happy, rhythmic creaking means he is content. A sudden, sharp crack might be a warning of an approaching visitor or a change in the weather. The house has become a living almanac, and you are learning to read its signs. He is no longer just a pest or a guardian. He is a source of information. You have, in essence, domesticated your own superstition. You have taken a system of beliefs born from fear and anxiety and transformed it into a practical, comforting framework for living. The Domovoi is still a powerful, potentially dangerous force, but he is no longer an unpredictable one. He is a known quantity, a grumpy but ultimately reasonable landlord whose rules you now understand. The balance is restored. You do your part to keep the peace. You show respect. You share your food. And he does his. The house prospers. The animals are healthy. The children are safe. The unspoken contract is in full effect. You have learned the most important lesson of all. A home is more than just walls and a roof. It is a relationship. And like any relationship, it requires patience, respect, and the occasional, well-timed gift of bread and milk. The snows of winter have come, burying the world outside in a thick, silent blanket of white. Your small IZBA is an island of life in a frozen, sleeping sea. The wind howls around the eaves, a lonely, wild sound, but inside, all is well. You sit by the fire, just as you did at the beginning of this story. Your husband is asleep. The children are nestled in their beds. The only sound is the steady, rhythmic crackle of the logs in the great clay stove. It's a peaceful, contented soul. It is the sound of a happy home. You look around the small, familiar room, its corners softened by shadow, its air thick with the scent of wood smoke and sleeping humanity, and you feel the other presence, the silent, unseen watcher in the corner. But the feeling is different now. It is not the hostile, judgmental presence you felt during the conflict, nor is it the neutral, watchful presence of the truth. It is a feeling of deep, quiet companionship. You are not alone in this house, and tonight, that is the most comforting thought in the world. He is here, grandfather, the keeper of the house, your grumpy, furry, invisible roommate. He is in his place behind the stove, a silent, furry guardian holding back the vast, cold darkness of the world. You have been through a trial. You made a mistake. You broke the ancient rules, and you suffered the consequences. You felt the anxiety of his displeasure, the cold dread of his anger. But you learned it. You remembered the old ways. You offered your apologies. You shared your food. You gave your treasures. You did the hard, necessary work of mending a broken relationship. And in doing so, you have transformed your house back into a home. A home is not just a physical structure. It's a delicate ecosystem of relationships, both seen and unseen. It requires balance, respect, and a deep understanding of the unspoken rules. The final, enduring mystery that folklore sets and historians ponder is the true nature of this belief. Is the Domovoi a real, external spirit, or is he a projection, a personification of the house's personality and the family's own collective emotional state? Is he the cause of domestic strife, or is he merely the psychic barometer that reflects it? Perhaps the most compelling answer is that he is both. The belief in the Domovoi provides a language, a narrative framework for understanding the complex, often invisible dynamics of a household. When the family is happy and harmonious, the Domovoi is content. When there is anger and discord, the Domovoi is upset. He is a mirror, reflecting the emotional health of the family back at itself. By working to appease him, you are, in fact, working to fix the underlying problems in your own human relationships. You get up from your stool and perform your last ritual of the night. You take the small wooden spoon, the one that started it, and you dip it into the pot of porridge left over from supper. You scoop out a small portion and carry it over to the stove. You kneel down and carefully place the spoonful of porridge on a small, clean chip of wood, and you slide it into the dark, warm space behind the hearth. "Good night, grandfather," you whisper. There is no reply. There never is. But as you climb into your warm bed atop the stove, you feel a profound sense of security. The house is safe. The family is protected. The ancient pact is strong. You pull the heavy fur blankets up to your chin, and you close your eyes, ready for a long and guarded, quiet night. And now, as the story of the little house spirit fades, you can feel your own home settling around you. The gentle hum of the fan, the distant sigh of the wind, the quiet groans of a house at rest. They are all just sounds, simple and plain, or perhaps they are the quiet whispers of your own home's guardians, watching over you as you drift slowly, gently, into the soft and welcoming darkness. Let the world of waking concerns dissolve. Let the crisp memories of the day soften and blur at the edges, like old photographs. There is nothing left for you to do, no one to appease, no rules to remember. There is only the simple, easy rhythm of your own breathing. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest, a quiet tide pulling you further and further away from the shore of consciousness. You are safe. You are warm. You are drifting now, in a peaceful, quiet space where stories end and dreams begin. Rest will. The end of the article. Good night.